Hey, sixth graders, it's fallacy day today, Monday, April 21st. Hope you all had a wonderful weekend with plenty of exercise and outdoor activities. We're actually going to hop into it right away here. Just one thing I want to remind you of is that I don't know if this is being provided to you, but we do have our index cards for taking notes today. You're going to need 3 of them, right? And we've talked about ways that you can keep them together, so we're not going to go into that detail right now. But for today, you're going to need 3 index cards. And I've had a few people comment asking me why we need them. Good question. I was not aware of how long distance learning was going to go at the beginning of this. So there was a part of me that thought we would come back and we would be able to start taking quizzes based off of those index cards, which is why you haven't had a quiz for this yet. But the way things are looking right now, starting next week, that's probably going to change, okay? So having these fallacies listed in a index card setting like this in order for you to be able to review and use flashcards, especially with teachers not being there, makes it even more important. It's going to be incredibly important. But think of it as like your note-taking activity. I don't want them. I'm not grading them. It's to help you, okay? So next week, you're probably going to start seeing quizzes of some kinds for your fallacies, okay? So that being said, let's hop into Trivium class for the day. Layla's sitting right by my feet right now, so if she starts barking at something, I'm going to apologize in advance. That makes it not my fault anymore. Okay, so first things first, going to the warm-up. Let's say someone is running for honor council. They're not sure if they're going to win, so they come up with a plan. They tell everyone that they will lose 10 minutes of lunch if they vote for the other person. And I am asking you to tell me what they are trying to do to make people feel in order to help them win, okay? And that's a great segue into what we're going to be talking about today, which are different fallacies than ones that we've done in the past. We'll get to the homework assignment in a little while. So today we've got appeals to emotion. Now we're going to have one other day's worth of these appeals, but an emotion is another word for a feeling, right? So we're going to be talking about fallacies that avoid the issue by making people feel rather than think. Now, our previous one were called ad phantom fallacies, right? I'm trying to get you to think back in your brain. You also have an index card of it, as to what it is. And a phantom was a fountain, right? And a fountain was a source of water. So in that one, you're attacking the source. Here, you're doing something different. You're trying to make people feel overthinking. Okay, now your exit ticket today, this is going to be what's on here after we're done. But it's going to ask you to tell me what fallacy you think this is, which we haven't talked about yet. When charities show pictures or video clips of suffering people or animals in the hope of helping them donate money. The video should definitely help you out with that. Make sure you're doing it in complete sentences. All right, so appeals to emotion. Here's our first one, right? So on the front side, I'm going to scroll over it with my cursor. Appeals to emotion. Blank side. Back side with the lines. The arguer attempts to sway the opinions of the audience by making them feel a certain way. Remember, you can hit the pause button here, and you can continue to copy it down and then hit the play button when you're done. I'll give you just a half second here. Okay. So the first one, we're doing another one right away, and this one is an appeal to fear. Okay, now this is the Latin argumentum ad baculum. Don't feel the need to write that down because it's going to be on your worksheet too. But what I do want you to write on the front side, appeal to fear. And then on the back side, you have this underlined and bolded phrase right here. This fallacy references the potential for bad things to occur if someone does not agree with the speaker. Now, my little brother was the king of this fallacy when we were kids. And he knew whenever we got into fights that he could always win in the end by doing one specific task, and that was cry. Because he knew that if he started to whine, that most times I would give up. Not because I felt bad that he was crying, not at all. It was because I knew what would happen if my parents found out that he was crying. I would get in trouble, get sent into a timeout, or maybe even get my video game privileges taken away, depending on how old I was at the time. Okay? So he was appealing to my fear. He would start to make a fuss, even though he definitely did not need to cry about something, believe me. And most of the times I would stop because I didn't want to get in trouble. Okay? He was appealing to my fear, and although it was very effective for him, in a lot of cases, he probably was in the wrong and he knew it. Okay. So I've seen this a lot, especially back when the internet was really new. You would get these emails that would tell you to forward it to a whole bunch of people. And usually it would tell you, if you didn't forward something, that your computer would get a virus or that something bad was going to happen to your computer. And quite frankly, you were probably actually forwarding the virus to people. So you were probably like making it worse. But it's the idea that you don't know when it'll happen or what's going to happen, and you are going to act solely because you're scared of what might happen if you don't. Now, there are two types. You have the appeal to fear, which we're talking about, and that's different than an appeal to force. And we're not going to get into that in terms of like doing it on index cards or anything. But an appeal to force is just talking about somebody saying, hey, either do what I want, or I'm going to give you a nice old knuckle sandwich, or I'm going to give you a nugget. Okay. Force is different than fear. Fear, you're not exactly sure what's going to happen and you're not worried about being physically harmed. Force, you're worrying about being physically harmed by someone if you don't do what they want. Like somebody having a gun in a bank robbery. All right, so some examples. All right, so some people might say that we need a strong military because we're afraid of our enemies, right? So a senator needs to support a bill that's going to make better airplanes, and then therefore, if we do that, we'll have a very strong military. But if we don't, someone might say, oh, well, in that case, we're going to look weak, and then millions of people will die. Do you want to be responsible for that? So someone might not be in favor of having a very strong military, but they get that put on them, and that's going to maybe make them vote with their fear and their gut rather than their mind, where they would maybe want to spend that money on something else, like, I don't know, educating our students or providing disease assistance when there's a pandemic. Here's some that are probably a little bit more age appropriate for us. A student comes up to a teacher after getting a C. My mom is the school's biggest donor, so you should really reconsider that C that you gave me on my latest paper. Oh, so in other words, you're telling me that your mom is probably not going to donate money, or she's going to try and get me in trouble for giving you a C. Well, if there's one thing that Mr. Plog is, it's incorruptible, and if you got a C, you probably deserve the C. But the student's trying to scare me into changing my mind. Now, let's do it the other way, because teachers do this too. A teacher tells the students that if they do not keep the noise down, the principal is bound to hear and come into the classroom. Right? They are holding that over you to try to get you to calm down and pay attention. Right? Now, you don't know what's going to happen if the principal comes in, but you feel like it's probably not going to be good. Now, this last one I left it blank. But this, oh man, this used to happen to me all the time when I was a kid. My grandma would tell me, Grandma Claude, by the way, she would tell me that I would catch a blank if I didn't wear a jacket outside. Now, a lot of you probably filled this in. She would always tell me I would catch a cold. Now, we know in today's world that you don't catch a cold from going outside. And I think she knew that because she was a nurse for 40 years. So I believe that she knew full well that I wasn't going to get sick. She just used it as a means to scare me into changing my mind. I still didn't usually wear a jacket though. Okay, next one. Appeal to pity. This is going to be front side here. And then the back side is going to be this definition here. So appeal to pity tries to get us to accept certain views by getting us emotionally in sympathy with the speaker. And if you know what the emotion pity is, it means to feel bad for someone. So usually you are going to feel a sense of sadness, or probably the best word to use is guilt, in order to get what you want. Now, this one right here, Layla, can you look over here? Oh, she's trying. There she is. Now, when she wants food, she does a very good job of sitting perfectly in front of her food bowl and looking at me with wide open eyes in like the cutest fashion. And even though it might not be her dinner time, there definitely are times where I want to cave and give her food just because she looks so darn cute and I feel guilty for not feeding her. Okay? This one, definitely good at using appeal to pity. How can you convict this man of murdering his mother? He's an orphan. Well, you're trying to make the jury feel bad for this man, but to be an orphan means that your parents are dead. So how did he become an orphan? He killed his mother. Okay, here's some examples that I've heard in the past. When someone tries to get you to do something and you might be not into the cause that they're talking about, well, but come on, please think of the children. This is about them, right? They're trying to make you feel bad and get in sympathy with children's policies and programs. When you didn't finish an assignment on time, you tell your teacher about how your printer was out of ink and that you didn't want to ask your mom to go to the store because she works nights, doesn't get much sleep, and was sleeping. I have heard this, maybe not so much in today's day and age with the printer and the ink, but boy, have I heard a lot of excuses about homework. And once it happens more than once, it starts to fall into this appeal to pity category. And another one is maybe a boss will recommend someone for a promotion and they're going to make the argument that they really need the money. They have a family and they need it. That's the reason why they need this promotion. Well, if you get a promotion, that means that you're getting a better job with more responsibility. So what's the real reason that you should get a promotion? Probably because you're the one that can do the job. But in a lot of cases, people will use excuses like this rather than something that actually would get them to deserve it. Now, this is a great example. This is Christian Children's Fund, and I usually do a YouTube video of this, but I'm kind of shaky on doing them in my own videos because I feel like that might be some copyright stuff. But Christian Children's Fund, it's an old guy that looks like Santa Claus, and he does ads where he's walking around on garbage, and there will be a whole bunch of children. And it's only children in the ads, too. That's the weird thing. And all of a sudden, he'll go up and walk up to one and then talk about how with just the amount of money that you spend on your morning coffee every day, you can save a child from all of these years of poverty and picking up garbage to eat. Okay. Now, they could just have a website and have you log in and donate, but I still see these ads, similar ads anyway. These are really old ones. But I see ads like this that are similar, and it's because when people see the hardship that they're going through, they feel bad for these children. They feel bad for, I've seen it in animal shelters. In fact, I used to do an animal shelter ad instead of this one, but I had kids cry every trimester, and I wanted to stop doing that, so we changed it to Christian Children's Fund instead. But the idea is that they're using these visual images in order to get you to feel bad, so then you'll donate more money. By the way, I don't know if any of you caught this. It says 80 cents a day. He said that's the price of your morning coffee. This was back in the 1990s. I'll tell you what, there is nothing at Starbucks that I see today that's worth 80 cents a day. So that's pretty ridiculous how much of a change we've had in just 20 years. Middle school students, I want you to think of this yourself. but oh my goodness, I gave you an example with the printer thing before, but you guys and girls are unbelievable at utilizing this technique. So I want you to think about it yourself. And maybe if you want to shoot me an email about it or something, I'd love to hear what you have to say. But think about a time that you've used it and it worked, or maybe you know somebody that's done that. Now, I'm not telling you that when we use the appeal to pity, that it means that the cause is not worth it, right? Like those children in those ads, or at least the cause, I don't know if maybe the children were actors, but the children that were benefiting from that really did need money and they needed help, right? These animals, they really do need help, right? In these animal shelters that they're in. But what I'm telling you is that they are using images to purposely make you feel bad so then you will give more money. Okay. All right. That's next week's. So I'm going to sign off here. Make sure that you do that exit ticket. Oh, actually, I'm not going to sign off because I want to show you a difference in your homework for tomorrow. Sorry about that. So beforehand, I was having you draw a cartoon to explain the example that you're going to give. I'm not going to do that anymore because that's really difficult to do on an online document. It's just that was the way I always did it in the past. So I tried to think of myself, what can I do to make this easier? And what we're going to do is instead, students, you're going to tell me, you're going to give me an explanation of why you think people do this or commit this fallacy. Okay, so why do you think someone uses an appeal to fear rather than giving me a sound argument in order to do something, right? Why are they deciding to do that? And then the same for appeal to pity, right? Rather, you give me an example, but then tell me, why do you think people commit this appeal to pity fallacy rather than give me a solid argument, let's say for a charity, to make me part ways with my money? Okay, so we're going to try that out and see if that's any different and maybe easier for people, because I do know the whole cartoon thing was a little bit difficult, and I do want to try to recommend and give you as much reason as possible to try this stuff online first. Okay, you know to email me if you have any questions. Please don't comment, shoot me an email. I can get back to it faster. And now for real this time, me and Layla are going to sign off. Have a great day, ladies and gents.